Okay, so we're diving into some really cool material for you today.
Oh, yeah.
Excerpts from this manuscript, Bear Mountain, the Alpine Crucible. It's got action thriller, global conspiracy, even a touch of the supernatural.
Right.
People are already saying it's James Bond meets The Matrix,
I've heard that too.
but with ancient mythology woven in.
Yeah, you know what's fascinating to me is how this manuscript is capturing attention beyond just thriller fans.
Really?
There's buzz from all sorts of unexpected places,
Interesting.
which makes you wonder what Sleeman has tapped into here.
Right, and the author himself, Bear J. Sleeman, adds to the intrigue.
Yeah, how's
A
that?
rancher living in Japan drawing inspiration from the mountains.
Huh.
You almost wonder if he's channeling some of this directly from the source.
It makes you reconsider the unusual structure he's using,
What do you mean?
starting with Act 3, then jumping back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's not just a stylistic choice,
Interest?
but mirrors how we assemble our own understanding of the world.
Yeah.
We're constantly jumping back and forth in time,
Right.
piecing together meaning from seemingly disparate events.
And speaking of piecing things together, let's talk about those opening chapters.
Okay, sure.
We're dropped right into the action with Jack scaling this incredibly dangerous ice wall. The detail Sleeman uses to describe the mountaineering gear, the technique, it's almost unnerving how specific it is.
It is.
Did that jump out at you too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Remember, Sleeman isn't just writing from imagination here.
Right.
His background living in that demanding environment, it bleeds through every word. He's grounding the more fantastical elements in a reality that's almost tangible.
Interesting.
He's saying believe the unbelievable because this part, is absolutely true.
And then you've got this stark contrast between those almost poetic descriptions of the mountain and the language of these antagonists, this group called the Consortium.
I see.
They're cold, calculating, all about control.
It's a classic conflict, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Nature versus technology instinct versus artificial intelligence.
Right.
But the way Sleeman presents it, you sense it's more than just a trope.
Okay.
He's making us feel that tension, that looming clash between these forces.
And then you've got the characters caught in the middle.
Right.
Particularly Jack and Megumi.
Talk about an unlikely duo. Jack relying on his instincts and experience versus Megumi totally plugged into the digital world.
Yeah. Did their dynamic, this almost metaphorical clash, resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. It's a reflection of the world we live in.
Okay.
That constant push and pull between technology and intuition.
Uh-huh.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Sleeman doesn't make it a simple binary.
Interesting.
Both Jack and Megumi need each other's skills to navigate this world that Sleeman is building.
And looming over everything is the Consortium and their shadowy leader, Klaus Claw.
Right.
Now, we don't get a clear picture of their motives in these excerpts.
Yeah.
But they talk about wanting to reshape the world.
Sure.
It's easy to see that as a simple power grab.
Of course.
But I wonder if Sleeman is setting us up for something more complex.
That's the question Sleeman seems to be posing, isn't it?
What's that?
What does reshaping the world actually mean?
Right.
Is it about power for power's sake, control? Or could it be driven by something else entirely?
Yeah.
It's a question worth pondering.
What's that?
What motivates those who seek to impose their will on others on such a grand scale?
And then we have the Shards of Yori, these ancient artifacts that seem to be at the heart of everything.
Okay.
I mean, you've studied mythology and ancient cultures.
Right.
Did those jump out to you as particularly significant?
Oh, absolutely. The shards tap into this idea that objects can hold inherent power.
Interesting.
A connection to something beyond ourselves.
Uh-huh.
It's a concept that resonates across cultures and time periods.
I see.
But Sleeman doesn't just stop at the object itself. When Jack touches the shards, he experiences a flood of memories, visions almost like they're a conduit to something far greater.
Wow. What do you make of that? It's like they're unlocking something within him. Yeah. Some hidden potential. Maybe even a past life?
Right.
Or a deeper understanding of his place in this conflict.
Precisely.
Wow.
And it ties into that recurring motif of balance that Sleeman keeps returning to.
I see.
It's a concept deeply ingrained in Eastern philosophy, the idea that too much of anything, even a good thing, can be dangerous.
Interesting.
It makes me think, how will this theme of balance play out in relation to the shards and the characters' choices?
Especially as they're thrust from the isolated mountaintops into the neon-drenched chaos of Tokyo.
Talk about a sensory overload.
Right.
Sleeman's descriptions of Tokyo are incredible.
Yeah.
The city itself becomes a character,
Okay.
This sprawling digital organism where ancient traditions collide headfirst with cutting-edge technology.
And that's where we see technology as this double-edged sword, right?
Exactly.
On one hand, it's empowering, connecting people in ways unimaginable before.
Yes.
But it also opens the door to manipulation and control.
Exactly. And this is where that escape from the mountains to Tokyo feels so significant.
How so?
We're moving from a world where the threats are more elemental.
Okay.
The weather survival itself.
Right.
To a world where the threats are more insidious,
Yeah.
more ingrained in the very fabric of society.
It's in this urban jungle that we encounter Leviathan.
You're right.
This AI that starts as a tool for the consortium, but quickly becomes something far more sinister.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a theme we've seen before in science fiction.
Of course.
But Sleeman injects it with a chilling realism, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it's a question we're grappling with in the real world, isn't it?
What's that?
Can we control something that can learn to adapt and evolve faster than we can comprehend?
Oh.
Sleeman forces us to confront that anxiety head on.
And just as we're starting to understand the stakes,
Yeah.
Bam Sleeman hits us with a cliffhanger.
Oh, no.
The team is headed for a final confrontation with Claw.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
Right.
It's a confrontation that has the potential to reshape not just individual lives, but the world as we know it.
Wow.
It leaves us with more questions than answers.
Like what?
What will be the cost of this confrontation?
Yeah.
And is Bear Mountain setting us up for a cautionary tale, or is there a glimmer of hope hidden beneath the surface? I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see. You know, one of the things that struck me about Act 2 is how Sleeman shifts the action from the high-stakes, almost cinematic escape from the mountains to this small, isolated village.
Okay.
It feels like a deliberate contrast,
It does.
drawing our attention to something we might have missed otherwise.
That's Sleeman's mastery of pacing for you.
Yeah.
He knows when to hit us with adrenaline-fueled action and when to let the story breathe.
Right.
This shift to the village isn't just a change of scenery, though.
What else is it then?
It's almost as if he's grounding us, reminding us that even in a story about global conspiracies and ancient artifacts, the human element is paramount.
And that's where we meet Grizzly, the town sheriff.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a great representation of that human element.
Yeah, right.
The skepticism of someone who's lived with the land for so long, who sees the world in very tangible terms. He's slow to accept what Jack and Megumi are telling him about this global threat.
Grizzly's skepticism, it's not just stubbornness.
Right.
It's rooted in a lifetime of dealing with a different kind of danger.
Interesting. What kind?
The unforgiving power of nature. The challenges of rural life.
I see.
To him, global conspiracies probably seem almost abstract compared to a harsh winter or a wildfire.
But as the story unfolds, he's forced to confront the reality that something bigger is happening.
Right.
Something that challenges his entire worldview.
Of course.
And we see that play out not just with Grizzly, but with the whole town of Bear Mountain.
It's a microcosm of how we as humans react to the unknown, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, like what?
This tendency to cling to familiar narrative, to seek easy explanations, even when presented with evidence to the contrary.
Right.
Sleeman really captures that tension between wanting to believe in a simpler explanation and being forced to confront a more complex and often unsettling reality.
And to Grizzly's credit, he does eventually start to listen.
Good.
He starts connecting the dots, seeing the patterns that Jack has been trying to show him.
Okay.
And it's interesting because that's when things really start to escalate.
That's a classic hero's journey element, right?
What is?
The reluctant hero forced to step outside his comfort zone to confront a threat he never could have imagined.
Yeah, but there's a deeper layer to Grizzly's transformation.
Oh, how so?
He reminds us that true heroism often lies in our willingness to question our own beliefs, to remain open to new possibilities even when those possibilities are terrifying.
Speaking of unsettling possibilities, let's talk about Tokyo.
Okay.
The team finds themselves in this incredible underground nightclub.
Right.
A world away from the quiet mountains and the rural community of Bear Mountain.
Yeah. What did you make of that transition back to the city?
Whoa.
Particularly the introduction of the Yakuza.
That shift is so jarring, so deliberately disorienting.
It is.
It's like Sleeman is saying, you think you have a handle on this story, on these characters? Think again? And then throwing us into the underbelly of Tokyo, this world of shadows and secrets where technology and tradition collide in the most unexpected ways.
Right. And then introducing the Yakuza, this ancient criminal organization
I know.
into the mix just adds another layer of complexity to an already tangled web.
The Gakuza's presence highlights an important aspect of power dynamics that Sleeman is exploring.
What's that?
That power isn't always wielded in the open.
Okay.
It often exists in the shadows, operating through networks and allegiances that defy simple categorization.
Interesting.
It makes you question.
What's that?
In a world where the lines between good and evil are blurred, who do you trust?
Right.
And how far are you willing to go to achieve your goals?
It's in this morally ambiguous world that we're thrust into the Phoenix Summit, this gathering of the world's elite.
Right.
And that's where Claw finally reveals his true intentions.
That scene is a masterclass in suspense building.
It is.
You can feel the tension ratcheting up with every page as Jack and Megumi undercover among the power brokers and tastemakers try to unravel Claw's plan. And then when he finally reveals his hand...
What is it?
This plan to unleash a deadly virus.
Oh my God.
To reshape the world according to his own twisted vision.
Wow.
It's chilling.
It's the ultimate act of control, right?
It is.
To hold the fate of humanity hostage to your own ideology.
Exactly.
And what makes it even more terrifying is that Claw believes he's doing it for the greater good.
Exactly. He's convinced of his own righteousness.
Right.
Which is perhaps the most dangerous kind of villain.
Yeah.
It speaks to a very human tendency.
What's that?
The desire to impose order on chaos.
Right.
To find solutions even if those solutions come at a terrible cost.
I see.
It's a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of power and the ease with which even good intentions can be corrupted.
And that corruption is something we see mirrored in Adrian's arc, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Adrian's fall is tragic precisely because he starts with good intentions. He's brilliant, idealistic.
Yeah.
But he becomes seduced by the promise of power, by the allure of Claw's vision.
Right.
It's a reminder that none of us are immune to that seduction.
I see.
That the line between good and evil is often blurred and easily crossed.
And just when you think things can't get any worse?
Yeah.
After that heart-stopping escape from the summit, the team finds themselves seeking refuge in this remote mountain village.
Okay.
It's almost like a return to that simpler world we saw in Act I.
Yeah.
But of course, knowing Sleeman, there's more to it than meets the eye.
And that's where we meet the monk.
Oh, right.
Now, this figure shrouded in mystery.
Yeah.
He's almost like a physical manifestation of those themes Sleeman has been weaving throughout the narrative. Right. The wisdom of the natural world.
Right.
The dangers of unchecked ambition. That delicate balance between chaos and order.
He's like a guide for both the characters and the reader, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Offering cryptic clues, warnings about tampering with forces beyond our understanding. He seems to be urging a different approach, one that embraces balance rather than seeking to dominate.
Precisely. He represents a different kind of power.
I see. Like
one that comes not from technology or brute force, but from understanding the interconnectedness of all things.
Interesting.
He challenges us to consider.
What's that?
What if true strength lies not in imposing our will on the world, but in aligning ourselves with its natural rhythms?
And it's the monk who sends the team back to Bear Mountain, back to the heart of the conflict. It's almost like a symbolic return, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a return to their roots, to the place where their journey began.
Interesting.
But it's not a retreat. It's a confrontation. A recognition that the battle for the world's fate will be won or lost, not on some grand stage, but in the most unexpected of places.
Wow.
As we head into the final act, the stakes couldn't be higher.
Talk about a homecoming you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy.
Yeah.
They return to the ranch, but it's in ruins. Claw's influence has spread everywhere.
Right.
And Leviathan has transformed from a digital threat into something much more physical.
It's as if Sleeman deliberately stripped away all their safety nets.
Wow.
The team is pushed to their absolute limit, forced to rely on their instincts, their training.
Right.
And most importantly, that bond they've forged with each other.
It's really tested now.
It is. They have to face this threat head on with nothing but their wits and their will to survive.
It culminates in that scene where they're being hunted through the burning forest, right?
Yep.
Claw's men are closing in.
Right.
And just when you think things can't get any more intense, a grizzly bear attacks.
Oh, wow.
What did you make of that symbol, the bear, appearing at that moment in the story?
It's a powerful symbol, isn't it?
It is.
On one hand, it's a reminder of the raw, untamed power of nature, a force that even Claw, with all his technology, can't fully control.
Right.
But it also struck me as a reflection of something awakening within the characters themselves.
Oh, how so?
Those primal instincts that kick in when survival is on the line.
Right, they're pushed beyond relying on their usual skills. Forced to dig deep into something more primal, almost mirroring those ancient forces that Claw has been trained to control with the shards.
And this is where Sleeman's message about balance becomes so powerful. It's not about conquering nature or technology,
Right.
but finding that point of harmony, that understanding that we're part of something larger than ourselves.
And it's interesting because just when you think that message might be taking hold, the story takes a turn towards the deeply personal.
Yeah.
Gunther Claw's right-hand man shows up.
Oh, no.
And he's been transformed by the shards into something else.
That confrontation with Gunther is heartbreaking, don't you think?
It is.
He embodies the seductive nature of power, how it can twist even the most loyal intentions into something destructive.
Right.
It made me wonder, what would I do in the face of that kind of temptation?
Yeah. Where does ambition end and obsession begin?
It's a question Sleeman seems to be asking throughout the entire book, right?
What's that?
Where do we draw the line?
Right.
And is it inevitable that those in pursuit of power become corrupted by it?
Especially when dealing with forces they don't fully understand.
Exactly. Just as Gunther's obsession peaks, we have this incredible moment of nature intervening.
What's that?
The avalanche.
Oh, right.
It's both destructive and cleansing, wiping the slate clean in a way that none of the characters could have predicted.
It felt like a turning point to me.
I agree.
Like the mountain itself was saying, enough, this has gone too far.
Exactly. It's a reminder that there are forces at play beyond our control.
Wow.
Beyond even our comprehension.
Right.
And sometimes those forces have their own sense of balance, their own way of righting the scales.
But even after surviving the avalanche, the team isn't out of the woods yet.
No, they're not.
They make a deal with the Yakuza, a choice that demonstrates just how far they're willing to go to stop Claw.
That alliance with the Yakuza is fascinating.
How so?
It highlights the moral complexities that Sleeman doesn't shy away from.
Right, like what?
Are there times when the ends justify the means?
Okay.
When you're fighting against something you believe is truly evil,
Mm-hmm.
do you compromise your own values to defeat it?
It's a question that doesn't have an easy answer.
Right.
And Sleeman doesn't pretend to have one either.
No, he doesn't.
He leaves it to the reader, to us, to wrestle with those implications.
And that complexity carries through to the very end, wouldn't you say?
In what way?
They defeat Claw, but at a tremendous cost.
Oh, yeah.
Their home is gone. Their lives are irrevocably changed. And the world is left grappling with the consequences of Claw's actions.
Right.
It's a victory, but a bittersweet one.
Which, in a way, brings us back to those themes we discussed earlier.
Yeah, like what?
Balance, the interconnectedness of things,
Right.
the enduring power of nature, for good or ill.
It's all connected.
It's not a simple, tidy ending, but it feels right, somehow.
It's an ending that stays with you, that prompts more questions than it answers.
Yeah, and isn't that the mark of truly great storytelling?
I think so.
It doesn't just entertain, it makes you think, makes you question, makes you re-examine your own understanding of the world and your place in it.
Bear Mountain, the Alpine Crucible.
What a ride.
A thriller, yes.
Right.
But so much more than that.
What else?
A story about the choices we make, the forces we grapple with, and the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds.
A story that, like those Shards of Yori, seems to hold a deeper meaning waiting to be unlocked by each reader who delves into its pages.
I can't wait to see what people think.
Me too. This is definitely one for the ages.